Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night.
Firstly, I'm going to say I am not a very experienced tank, but I have almost 200 hours in game. I picked up a few things that people seem to miss when they're first starting out, and some stuff I learned when I started. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the nicest communities, so don't be afraid to ask for help, as most people would be happy to accommodate. And in no particular order, let's begin. My first tip is to play through the Hall of the Novice. This will give you a basic understanding of the role and give you some decent gear to get you started. Some of the tips I have are things that you would learn from the Hall of the Novice, but with more practical context and video. So if you haven't gone through the Hall of the Novice yet, I recommend you do that now. For those of you who prefer a direct and practical explanation, keep watching. Number 2, use your ranged attack to start encounters and grab enemies. This attack specifically increases your aggro, also known as enmity in FF14, which helps you control the whole pack of enemies. It's also useful when you're fighting a boss, and they spawn more enemies, so you can hit them with your ranged attack, bring them to you, and keep control of them. By doing this, you make it easier for your party to hit them and take them down quicker. Number 3 is to position the pack of enemies away from your party. Most enemies have a heavy attack, so by facing them away from the party, they can keep their damage up without getting hit. This especially goes for bosses who have what's called a cleave attack that hits anything that's in front of it, dealing a lot of damage to non-tank players. It's often useful to pull them out into the open to give your party more space to attack and maneuver, and allowing you more space to avoid their heavy attacks, as well as helping you keep an eye out to see any more monsters spawn so you can grab them before they start attacking your party. Number 4 is to watch the enemy list. Every enemy you hit will show up in the enemy list. A green circle means they're not attacking you, a red square means they're actively attacking you, yellow triangle means you're losing aggro on them, so you need to attack that enemy next. Number 5 is to use your AoE for large groups. I've seen a lot of new players not know about their AoE. AoE stands for Area of Effect and essentially allows you to hit multiple enemies at once. This is best used when there are 3 or more enemies, and is essential to be able to run later content. For the most part, you can spam your AoE to get through most content, but it's best practice to also throw in your normal rotation to maximize damage, as well as crowd control. Number 6, which is one of the really important ones, is to use your mitigation abilities often. Mitigation is an ability that reduces the amount of damage you take or increase the amount of health that you have. An important thing to note is that these effects, for the most part, do not stack, and so activating all of them at once would be a waste. It's best to use one and wait until the buff has ended before using the next. I would often keep these abilities for situations that are really bad, but that often means that I never got to use them. They have relatively short cooldowns, so it's best to use them between fights. It can help you take bigger pulls without straining your healer as much, allowing them to focus more on damage, making the fights a lot quicker. Number 7 is use the arm's length ability in sticky situations. This ability is meant to be used to negate knockback, but its secondary effect slows enemies' attacks. I often use this when I've pulled a few too many enemies and my healer is having trouble. If the situation is really bad, you can activate the mitigation ability on top. Number 8 is don't be afraid to tell the group it's your first time. The FF14 community is one of the nicest I have ever seen. I have often done this myself and had people do this in my party. We were all more than happy to take it slow and answer any questions you have, making it one of the best games to learn any roles in. Number 9 is be confident and trust your healer. This one does come when you have more experience. When I first started out, I was not confident at all, and would often take the dungeons one group at a time. And on the other side, if you do make big pulls, make sure your healer is comfortable with it. Lastly, number 10, check your tank stance. In some cases, people have been unaware of its existence, and in others, it's just turned off for one reason or another. So it's always good to double check, and always activate it at the start of dungeons. This makes it so you have more aggro, or enmity in this case, from normal attacks. As long as you are attacking, the other players shouldn't be targeted by the enemies. This was a small list of some of the really basic parts that some people miss. If you have anything you would add or any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. While this video isn't for everyone, there's definitely some people in the community that learn 1 or 2 things from this video. So thank you for your time.